Alrighty then, so today's video is a little bit different. I just want to show you guys, this is a couple of Ethereum trades that I took over the course of the last, I think it was 2 weeks. This is just an example, not really an example. I took these trades and I will put the screenshot of the actual trades that I took, because I didn't actually record while I was in the trades. I had other things on my mind, but I will put that up at the end of the video, just as proof that I actually took the trades. But this video is not actually about taking the trades per se. I just want to show you guys the power of scaling in and the power of trailing your stop losses, right? And these two things are exactly what I done while I was in these various Ethereum trades, right? So it's not going to be a long video because, you know, scaling in is pretty simple. You know, trailing your stop loss is as simple as it is as well. So basically just what what scaling in basically means is, if you are already in one trade, right? So for example, I already am, for example, alright, let me just go over this trade, right? So let me just give you guys, because it will benefit you guys, let me just give you a backstory of why I actually into this trade, right? So we all know crypto, first of all, is very volatile, right? I don't trade crypto every day, not even every week, and not even every month, right? So there's certain times of the year only when I'll actually trade crypto, right? So as we can see, over the course of, you know, earlier this year, you know, we had a bit of a sell-off from last year when it made that new all-time highs. Specifically, we're dealing now with Ethereum, right? So we made new all-time highs last year, and then we had a bit of a sell-off, as we can see here, during the first half of this year, right? So we had a sell-off, and that's for good reason. It was because of the tariff uncertainty, all of that, etc., right? But let me just get in quickly why I actually took this trade, right? First of all, fundamentals, we had an easing of the tariffs. That's the first reason, right? We had the easing of the tariffs. We had negotiations come into play. Certain countries started negotiating, and just a day or two ago, we had Japan and the US, you know, making coming to you know, not a, you know, complete and solidified agreement, but definitely an agreement is in the works. I'm not actually sure if there's an actual agreement, but I know there is an agreement is in the works, right? But that's neither here nor there, right? So that contributes, first of all, why we're seeing the sudden push, or at least one of the factors is seeing the sudden push and surge in crypto. Obviously there is certain cycles, you know, in crypto. I won't exactly get into that right now because that would be a little confusing, and this isn't what this video is about. But I just quickly want to get into why I took this trade. So first of all, we had the easing of the tariffs, right? That could have contributed to this you know, turnaround and pushed it back to the upside, right? We had that. We still have pretty good, you know, economic data coming out of the US. Inflation is, you know, going down at a reasonable rate. The unemployment rate even dropped a little bit. NFP, you know, came in good as well the past couple of months. CPI, PPI came in good. We know, like I said, unemployment rate dropped as well. Not just that, we have, you know, the weekly unemployment claims as well. It's giving, you know, basically all the important factors. We know that Ethereum, Bitcoin, Solana, you know, Dodge, whatever, crypto basically is a risk asset, right? So since the major factors, you know, your unemployment claims, NFP, CPI, whatever is doing good, plus, you know, with deals now being made with the tariffs, that's all signaling, plus a calming also of, you know, the tensions that we had a couple of weeks ago in the Middle East. all of that is contributing to a more risk-on environment, right? So, like I said, all crypto as a whole is a risk asset, right? Such as Ethereum, what we're dealing with now, it's a risk asset. Um, this is a good, now is a good environment for risk assets, right? Risk assets such as crypto and your stocks, etc., right? Indices, whatever. But I feel like I'm going off on a tangent here, but I think that would definitely benefit my reasoning as to why I got in these longs, right? First of all, now getting into the reason why I actually took this trade, and then after that I'll get into scaling in, trailing one stop loss, etc. First of all, we can see we have a multi-year, like as you guys can see here, June 2022. So we have a multi-year zone over here, very key zone, right? Going all the way back. Oh, and by the way, this is on the weekly time frame. So going all the way back to May of 2022, right? We can see this was first where this very key resistance zone was formed, right? Like I said, this is a multi-year zone. So we're going back all the way to May of 2022. We can see this is where this very important multi-year resistance zone was formed, right? So we had this resistance zone. We can see price tapped into it a couple of times, over there, right? Over there, right? Then we had our break above it, right? We had the break above the weekly resistance zone. The zone then became what? Weekly support, right? We broke the resistance zone. It then became support. Price continued to push higher. Obviously, like I said, there's certain cycles within crypto, certain periods of buying and selling, certain cycles of buying or selling, right? Altcoin season, whatever, all of that. I won't get into that right now. Anyhow, we had in mid 2024, we had a steep sell-off back into this multi-year / weekly support zone, right? We tapped into it, we failed to break it. What did price then do? Price continued pushing higher, and obviously Trump is very pro crypto. So when he got into office last year, near the end of last year, crypto continued pushing, Ethereum continued pushing, made new all-time highs, right? Made new all-time highs, continued pushing after it bounced from this very key weekly support zone, made new all-time highs. Then things started cooling off, whatever. We then had another steep decrease or steep sell-off in the price of Ethereum, right? And like I said earlier, there's something major that contributed towards this was when all this tariff drama started, right? So we had our massive sell-off again. Try testing this this very key weekly resistance support zone, right? Price at first was able to hold it, as you can see with this candle over here. You can see the wick over there. You can see this wick over here. Price was able to hold it. Was able to hold this weekly support zone. We had a nice push up, then another leg lower. Price was unable to hold it, right? So this is essentially what is called a fake out, right? Thus, because normally you would think, okay, price broke a key multi-year support zone, right? Price broke it, so now you obviously would expect price to what? Push lower, right? So let me show you why quickly, and this could be something to keep in mind even when trading other things, right? So the reason why I said this is essentially a fake out is because on the higher time frame, such as the monthly, all this essentially was a liquidity sweep, right? So all it was a liquidity sweep, liquidity grab. We had a bunch of liquidity sitting down here. Price was able to tap it, right? We had all this liquidity down here. Price was able to tap it and then continued pushing higher. So essentially on the weekly, it was a fake out, but looking at the monthly, we could clearly see that it is a higher time frame liquidity sweep, right? So this zone obviously is still valid, right? We had the monthly liquidity sweep. We had the monthly liquidity sweep, essentially being a fake out on the weekly, and then a couple of weeks later we had another break above it, right? We had this big bullish momentum candle over here. We had this big bullish momentum candle over here, breaking back above this key multi-year. Now when it price essentially broke, it became resistance again. So it broke the resistance, now became support again, right? So with that being said, the way in which and with the momentum in which this weekly candle broke this resistance zone, it was clear to me that bulls were once again taking control, right? Because not just that we had, like I said, this is basic stuff. Look at this monthly liquidity sweep, right? We have the monthly liquidity sweep. Then what did we have after that? And I know I'm going off here a little, but this could help not just with with this specific scenario, but with other trades as well. We had the monthly liquidity sweep. Then look at this. Weekly break of structure to the upside as well, plus this massive bullish momentum candle, and the way in which it broke this weekly key resistance zone as well, right? So that's neither here nor there, but also is part of the reason why I took these entries, right? So obviously just on this one candle alone I'm not going to enter, right? So I'm not going to enter strictly on this one candle alone, simply because of the fact this could have been another fake out and price could have completely dumped back to the downside, right? So obviously I'm not going to be dumb and just enter clearly of a break above the zone, although the momentum in which this candle broke it and the size of this candle showed me, okay, I can now actually start looking for for longs, right? So we broke the zone. Then what did price do afterwards? Gave us a nice retest over here. Nice bearish candle, gave me a retest, and then it's simple things just on the daily time frame. Okay, so just on the daily time frame, went on over there. We had the daily time frame over there, right? We had the retest, the weekly retest. As soon as price gave me a a bullish engulfing candle to the upside, it was my cue to take an entry, right? So as soon as price gave me this bullish engulfing candle over here, took my entry, and that was my first entry. So I went over why I took the trade initially, what caused me to take it, or what factors came into play, right? That I feel is important for you guys to understand why I took it, my reasons, whatever. So now I'm going to actually get into the actual reason for this video, which is scaling in and trailing stop losses, right? So I took my first entry over here off of this bullish engulfing candle, right? Took my entry, everything, it was consolidating, as you can see over here, for a little bit. It was consolidating, but things like that happen, especially when you plan on holding trades for a while, right? So it was consolidating over here, but then eventually price continued pushing higher, right? So we had another, remember this is now weekly, once again, the zone is weekly support, right? This zone is weekly support. We had a daily resistance zone up here. This is the next key level that I was watching, right? So I was watching this level and waiting for a break of it, right? And eventually we did. Let's go remove this. So eventually we did. I think I can go and remove this as well for now. So eventually we did get it. Look at this. Yeah, we had the daily resistance zone, right? We had the resistance zone, resistance, and then with this candle, this bullish daily candle over there, we then proceeded to break our daily resistance zone, right? And also it was at this point where like I said, the tariffs deals were starting to be made. Trump extended the deadline, whatever. Markets were pricing in the tariffs and the effects of the tariffs and everything. So immediately after I saw this break on the daily time frame, this break of this resistance zone, as you guys can see, we had a slight retest over there, right? We had a slight retest over there, and then on the next daily candle open, I took another entry, right? I took another entry over there. This was now my second entry, and this is where scaling in comes in, right? We had a break of a key zone, right? Hence the term scaling in comes in. We had the break of the zone, we had a slight retest, and then on the next candle I entered again, scaling in, my second entry, right? That is exactly as simple as scaling in is. As soon as your one of your a couple of your confluences get hit again, and you see prices still continuing to push in your position, in your direction, sorry, that's when you scale in, you get in on another trade, right? Now you might also be thinking, since I got into another trade, since I got in again, scaled in, you might be thinking, okay, but now I'm risking more, you understand, right? Risking more, now I'm doubling my risk, whatever. No, that's not the case. And this is the other term that I was referring to as well, and the other part of this video, which is trailing stop loss. So since I took my second entry, right? Just find something. Okay, so since I took my second entry, right? Took my second entry over there, my second entry, scaled in over there, right? I scaled in. This first position or first trade is already in profit, right? It's already in profit. So what do? Simple. Just take this. Just take the stop loss, move it to break even. It's as simple as that. Hence the term trailing your stops. I took the stop loss of my initial entry, moved it to break even. This first position is now a break even trade. Now essentially what I'm only risking is the stop loss on my second entry. That's basically all that I'm risking. So since this first trade stop loss is now at break even, I'm essentially locked break even, right? I'm risking, for example, I'm not now risking twice as what I originally was risking. Now I'm only risking what I originally was risking, you understand, on the first trade, right? And not twice the amount now, right? Because what a lot of people do, they will scale in, they will take another entry, but they won't move the stop loss to break even. So now they're risking twice the amount that they would have initially been risking, which is honestly dumb, because price could easily just fall flat on its face, and then it stops you out over there, and then stops you out over there, and then you lose twice as what then you lose on both entries. Whereas now, even if price drops, I would only lose, for example, on this trade, whereas this trade is now at break even, you understand? So basically, since I took two entries, this entry is moved to break even. I now have the opportunity to make twice as much or thrice as much, depending on how much I'm gonna risk. Now obviously on the second entry, I have the potential to make twice as much or thrice as much as I would have initially, just by scaling in, right? Just by scaling in, I have the opportunity to make twice as much or thrice as much, depending on how much I'm risking on the second entry, right? And with regards to the risk, I'm only, instead of, like I said, I have the opportunity to make twice or thrice as much as what I would have made on the initial entry, right? Now the risk is now still the same, obviously, depending, I'm just using this as an example, but it's still the same in this case. Let's just make it in this case, I'm risking, for example, the same here as I did here, right? So now I'm not risking twice the amount of the initial trade. I'm risking on the second entry still the same amount that I risked on the initial trade, right? While at the same time having the opportunity to make twice the amount of my initial trade, right? Because this entry plus this entry over here, right? So that's the power of scaling in. Scaling in is a very, very powerful thing, as well as trailing stops. And I can take this trailing stop thing even further, right? So say for example, look how far price up is now, right? So with that being said, let me just go ahead and remove this thing. So with that being said, right, look how far price up is now. Massive push, quick push. And this is how crypto moves. Crypto moves extremely quick. If it wants to push up, it's gonna push up. So I already moved the stop loss into profit, right? To break even, right? Now I had a break above this zone, right? Now I get the reaction candle, price continues to push higher. So since I can see price is now pushing higher, what do? I take this stop loss and I move it into profit just below this structure, right? This is essentially a structure, this zone, this market structure, if you want to call it whatever. So I take the stop loss, I moved it from the original stop loss, I moved it to break even. Now I'm moving it into profit. You understand? And that is basically just trailing your stop, moving your stop loss deeper and deeper into profit, the higher price pushes. So moving the stop loss, higher and higher into profit, right? And since we had another daily resistance zone, this then became support, obviously, because it got broken, price continued to push, right? This was the next daily resistance zone. So we could even take this. We could even take this where stop loss where I moved it the second time. I can even move it further into profit, right? And since this trade now, like I said, look how high price is, and since we broke above this, the next daily resistance zone, I can take this stop loss of the second entry and then simple move it then to break even. Now I'm on a risk-free trade. Now this stop loss of the second entry is moved to break even. This stop loss of the first entry is now all the way up there in profit. So even if price does fall flat on its face to the downside, I still make profit because the stop loss of the initial trade is deep in profit, and the second entry's profit stop loss is at break even. You understand? This is the power of trailing your stops, scaling in whatever. So essentially this would now have been a risk-free trade. The second entry's stop loss is also a break even. The first entry's stop loss is even deeper into profit. So even if price, like I said, even if price falls flat on its face, I'm still going to end up with profit because of the stop loss of the first entry that's so deep in in profits. That's basically what trailing your stop loss is. The higher price goes, and obviously if it breaks your like in this case a daily resistance zone, the more zones it breaks, the deeper into profit you just move your stop loss, right? So in this case, let me just show you guys what I will be looking at, because I am out of the trades. Just for clarity, I am out of both of these positions, right? But that is essentially what I done when it came to scaling in and trailing my stop losses. That is exactly what I done. So let me show you guys what I would be looking for, right? Would be looking for now with regards to scaling in and trailing stop loss. This is what I would be looking for now. A break above this next zone, break above there, retest there, and maybe some sort of reaction candle like that. And then this is what I would do. Bam, scaling in. Just do something like that. Maybe just a little bit above all-time highs, and I would put my stop loss there. Maybe just there, 1:2, just something like that. And this essentially would be another, and taking another position, scaling in again, and then what I would do, same thing what I done with the first two entries. The higher price continues to push, I would then just eventually move the stop loss to break even, and then the higher price would go. Obviously price is not going to go forever, just up, but this is now just what I would do. If price does continue pushing up, I would first move my stop loss to break even, and then I would just move my stop loss further into profit. Simple. Don't need to overcomplicate trading. Trading is not that difficult. It's the psychology that is the difficult part. So this was just a quick video on, you know, trailing stops, scaling in, telling you you can make good money, especially since obviously you can see clearly the daily time frame, right? So this was obviously a swing trade, especially crypto. I always swing trade crypto. I don't even bother scalping or day trading crypto. But scaling in, you can obviously scale in, even if you are a scalper or, you know, day trader. You can obviously still use, you know, scaling in, trailing your stop loss. This basically works for everything. So whether you are a swing trader, whether you're a day trader, intraday trader, scalper, use the power or use the method of scaling in and trailing your stop loss. It works. And I know some people don't also believe in, you know, moving stop losses to break even, but I cannot tell you guys how much moving my stop loss to break even has saved me from taking, you know, a loss. Moving the stop loss to break. Now I'm not obviously saying if price moves just a little bit like that, move the stop loss to break even. No, I'm saying if price, for example like here, price broke the zone when I took, and then only afterwards I took my second entry and I moved the stop loss to break even, right? Move the stop loss to break even, guys. It's going to help you scale in on your trades, and you will have the potential. Obviously it's not going to work every time. You need to be able to identify where you can scale in, obviously, and nothing is obviously 100%, and this isn't even a you know, a strategy or whatever. This is just something you can use together with your strategy, and a lot of people that I know use scaling in and trailing their stop losses, right? If you don't want to, that's fine, but trust me, moving the stop loss to break even and then into profit, especially if you are a swing trader, which does Ethereum trade was a swing trade. I cannot emphasize this enough. It's going to help you. Trail your stop loss, move your stop loss to break even, and then into profit when you see prices continuing to push higher. If it breaks certain zones, move it, and that can go obviously when you are in sell. That can obviously work when you are in sales, whatever. I was just making the example since I took, you know, these buys, and will potential, you know, add to it, scale in again on this last entry, because we are quite close to all-time highs now on Ethereum, and I'm not exactly sure obviously how much further price will push or want to push, but that was just a quick example of how you can make, and I made good money from this as well. So trail your stops, scale in. It's going to benefit you guys a lot. And I will also, I didn't forget, I will show the screenshot of me actually taking the Ethereum trades as well. So trail your stops, guys, scale in. It's going to work.